Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show. This is a special edition, our post 2020 Boxing Year in Review show. We are live streaming on Facebook Live, Twitch, our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel, and we're also going to be coming to a podcast near you. So check out your favorite podcasts and find Positional Sports Talk Show. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports. My name is Big Reg, and I'm joined this evening by my partner in crime, J3. What's going on, J3?
What's up? How y'all doing? Chime in. Tell your friend. Hey.
We will also be joined in a little bit by Professor J. Professor J will be dropping in.
I'm going to try to turn it on so you can hear it.
And then we got some special guests in the building. We got my man Queensberry Tony in the building. What's going on, Tony?
My pleasure, man. I've been trying to get on for a while, but I'm glad we're doing this year-end boxing review. I'm really excited to be on.
And shortly, we will be joined by the 7-foot poet, who's going to be popping in a minute. So this evening, we will discuss the state of boxing, the top fights of 2020, our top divisions in the boxing game, our top fighters, and the matchups we want to see in 2021. So, fellas, let's talk about the state of boxing. Right now, in 2020, boxing had to do some changing around. What's going on, 7-foot poet? Glad you could join us. How you feeling this evening?
I feel great. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here for this special poker round table. I'm glad to see Queensberry Tony's here. He owes me some money from the last poker game. Is this a poker show? Are we covering poker tonight?
No.
Great. Is that all that stuff? I'm on the wrong show? Is this
Nah, you're in the right place. You're in the right place. Glad to have you, brother. Glad to have you.
Wrong sport.
Good to see you, Queensberry Tony, Big Red. I don't think I met this brother over here, Santa Claus' little nephew.
What's up, homie?
What's up, J3? Good to see you, man.
Always a pleasure, bro.
So the sport of boxing looked like 2020 was going to be a big year for boxing. Seemed like we had some big fights.
You remember Big Sam?
Come around, and then all of a sudden, boom.
His son looks just like him, too. Oh, my goodness.
Hey, J3, we can hear you, probably.
Oh, my bad. Why'd I put that joint on pause?
So in 2020, you had some major networks decide to do some real strong things. Back in 2019, really started this episode. The big gorilla in the boxing game was HBO Sports. In 2019, HBO Sports announced that was going to be their final year, and they were getting out the boxing game. So ESPN jumped in, and ESPN decided that they wanted to be a major player in boxing, but they weren't just going to deal with any promoter. They wanted an exclusive rights deal, kind of like the UFC deal that they did. So ESPN hooked up with Top Rank Boxing and Bob Arum, and they did an exclusive deal with Top Rank to do all of Top Rank's fights. That led Premier Boxing Champions, run by Al Heyman, to even more fortify his alignment with Showtime Sports and Fox Sports. So now you got ESPN, Top Rank, you got PBC over here, only on Showtime and Fox. And then you had the new player, Dancing or DAZN, however you want to call it, which came in, and they wanted to get into the streaming platform. They were looking at the future. So Dancing came in, and then they aligned with Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, and Matchroom Boxing, Eddie Hearn. So with all this saying, we got a lot of fights in 2020, even during the pandemic, but we didn't get the fights that we necessarily wanted. Do you think that this realignment of promoters exclusively with the network is good for the sport or bad for the sport?
Anybody jump in?
Jump in.
It's bringing us a lot of fights that may not have happened otherwise happen during the pandemic. I think boxing was the only consistent sport to have live content all through this pandemic, and they were everybody was affected, but they were able to still put on some fights. Now, does that mean we are going to get it? So that's the good thing, because each one of them want to make money, and in order to make money, they have to have content. So we're going to see some kind of action. That's the good news. The bad news is that we're not going to see a lot of the action that we want to see, because some of the top people are aligned up in opposing camps. And as those top people decide, well, maybe I might want to switch camps and things like that, when that happens is the only time we're going to ever see some of these fights happen that we really want to see.
So what you're saying is it's all about the money and who paying their chat is which platform they're gonna be on. That's what you're saying.
So right, if you have one guy at ESPN and then another guy with PBC and Fox and Showtime, it's very rare that they'll do a co-promotion. So you might not see that fight unless something really has to like happen, where one fighter jumps ship. And that's the only way you're going to see that particular fight. But does that mean that there's going to be no boxing? No. December was incredible for boxing. I mean, I
agree.
Me and my dad had to we couldn't watch everything live. We had to choose. We had to flip a coin. Like 3 weeks ago. So it took us all a week to catch up. So I mean, a lot of content, not necessarily all the stuff we want to see, but still some amazing stuff happened this year.
I agree. You got anything to add, 7 Foot Poet?
Nah, well, I think I agree with everything was said. You know, it's a position on sports talk show, but it's really positioned on business. And boxing is a business, the particular sport that we're looking at right now is boxing. And when you're in business, it's good to have other powerful entities that have a vested interest in the success of your business. So having a network vested in the success of boxing is going to be good for boxing.
Yeah, I think during the pandemic, I think you're right, Tony, with the fact that without these alignments, I don't think we would have gotten the content that we got in the pandemic. Because let's be real, this is the second time I've mentioned this organization. I promise this will be the last. Dana White and the UFC was the first sports entity to show a blueprint on how to move forward during the pandemic. When he decided, I'm gonna put up the money, I'm gonna get the testing, and I'm gonna create a bubble so I can put on content. UFC's with ESPN. So guess what? Top Rank was the first boxing entity to come back during the pandemic, because they used that blueprint, created a bubble in Las Vegas. I believe they were at the big casino in Vegas, and they basically had 5 floors totally sold out specifically for them. They brought boxes in and out, did all the testing, quarantine, and did what they needed to do to put on content. So that's a good thing. But one thing they did prove to us, they can work together if they really want to. Because we got the Wilder Fury 2 fight. And Fury is the co-promoted by Top Rank. Wilder is a PBC guy. So when they really want to work together, if the money's right, they can figure it out. The question is, will there ever be money right while we're going through this pandemic? So,
yeah, I think it's a bigger question than just what networks or people are on and what camp people are in, as to the only reason why certain fights we're not going to be able to see. I think it has a lot to do with the boxers, the fighters themselves.
well, since you brought it up, let's talk about what's going on currently in the welterweight world. And we're jumping a little ahead, but I think we can handle this. You got yesterday, the welterweight champion, over the weekend, Errol Spence did an interview and basically said that, if Terrence Crawford won the fight, I'm the man. So he's going to have to take 70-30, 60-40, wherever I decide to get him. Of course, Crawford immediately replied, see, y'all been saying for 2 years that I've been ducking this guy, and this is the guy that don't want to make the fight. Both of them on the pound list.
You remember back in the day when Mike Tyson was beating everybody and like damn near killing them in seconds, and then people would be like, oh, if you pay me $10 million, I'll fight Mike Tyson. That's what he did. He said a number that was so outrageous that nobody would possibly pay, so that he don't have to fight him.
Yeah, well, that's what Anthony Joshua did for 2 years with Wilder.
Oh, they all do it eventually. Teofimo just did. Oh, I ain't gonna get into it. But that's what Spence just did. He said a number so outrageous. Oh, if you pay me $100 million, I'll fight Mike Tyson. First of all, nobody want to see you fight Mike Tyson. They don't even know who you are. And nobody will pay you nothing to get knocked out by this man.
Right.
And you don't want to do it anyway because you said a number that was so outrageous that he wouldn't even wouldn't even think about it. Exactly. So again, that's what Spence. He should have kept his mouth shut. A lot of these guys' worst enemy is a microphone and a camera. They should just shut up and let their promoters do the talking. That's the real problem. They need people to help them know like talking points. You know what I mean? But that he just made himself look weak. First of all, he was at 70% in his last fight. He was gassed by the 8th round. Ain't nobody. He can't handle Crawford right now. He ain't back from his 57 flips from his Ferrari.
Right.
He ain't back.
I agree with that.
4 fights. He needs to maybe he should be working with Pacquiao, like something like that. That'd be a good fight for him to cement his legacy. And put Crawford way down the road because he ain't ready for that.
I hear you. Well, all I can say, and we'll touch again on fights we think they should make in 2021. If a grown man calls me everything but the son of God, I know it's on social media, but Terrence Crawford in 2020 and 2019 went in on Errol Spence. He eased up off after he had the accident. But because everybody was saying Crawford was scared and Crawford didn't want to fight.
Now we know the truth.
And if anybody knows anything about Bud, he may be from Omaha, but he ain't that dude.
Omaha is rough. When I was a kid, Omaha was in Juice. I don't think remember that movie Juice? They went to Omaha to flip them birds.
Okay.
They gully in Omaha.
I hear you. So let's talk about some of the top fights of 2020. We just talked about Earl Spence.
First one.
Go ahead.
You got to start with the first one, the earliest fight of 2020, the biggest fight of 2020.
Okay, we can start with that. Probably what was supposed to be the biggest pay-per-view of the year in February, Fury Wilder 2. And quite honestly, your boy Wilder got beat up. He blamed it on his costume. Hold on. Let me get it. Then he blamed it on his corner for stopping the fight when he was getting hurt badly. And then, because I know you're gonna go there, Tony. He's going with the conspiracy theory that your boy Fury used loaded gloves. So we all saw the fight. Come on now.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hold on, you got evidence right there that Fury was using loaded gloves. Because the evidence is unmistakable. After the fight, Wilder blamed on his costume because he was knocked the fuck out.
All right, let's talk about the costume. First of all, I would love for you, as a journalist, that's what we are, right? To show me where Wilder said that. Show me the evidence that he said that.
He said it in an interview after the fight that the costume was supposedly 50 pounds and that by the time he walked into the ring, he was exhausted already.
Don't nobody believe that.
I've never heard him say it.
It was in an interview, maybe
Well, maybe
2.5 weeks out, 2.5 weeks after the fight, his first interview.
Maybe somebody in the comments section put in the link of him actually saying that, or a quote from a reporter. I never heard him actually say those words, that it was the costume. I've heard a lot of people saying that, but I never heard him say it.
I hear you. So
Well,
do you
here's
think?
the quote.
Go
Here's
ahead.
the quote. If you quickly Google it, it says he didn't hurt me at all. But the simple fact is, my uniform was way too heavy for me. I didn't have no legs from the beginning of the fight. In the third round, my legs were just shot all the way through.
There was evidence. I have other evidence that I've seen, photographs, authentic photographs of this fighter having his gloves not all the way in. His hand was not all the way in the glove. So he was basically hitting Wilder with his bare hands, his bare knuckles. There is actual evidence of this, photographs, and I'll put the link in after. I see J3's face twisted up.
Yeah, but isn't that what the referee's supposed to check before the fight even starts?
I can show you so many fights where, like the Cotto, there's so many fights where the referee and the commission never catch anything. It's all about your corner.
Right.
It's supposed to catch, which is why that dude got fired. His trainer, he got fired this year. He didn't catch the 2 times Fury was cheating with his glove. And after the fight, a third party, his doctor, showed evidence where it could have been an egg weight, it could have been something. There was a foreign object in one of the gloves, and it put a dent on the side of Wilder's head. There was a dent in his head. Now, I don't know any glove that can put a dent in the shape of an egg weight in the side of your head.
So you all in on it. It was the fix was in. He did.
Well, I'm telling you that this man is one of the dirtiest fighters that in history. The man has been caught by he gave up his United Kingdom boxing license because UKAD caught him using drugs. He can't even fight in the UK anymore, which is why they want to fight Anthony Joshua in United Arab Emirates. He can't fight in the UK anymore. UKAD caught him lying, saying that some farmer gave him some tainted boar meat when he was doping.
Well, that's the same thing Canelo said before he fought Triple G. Oh, I got some tainted meat. So we all know they cheat. If your corner misses it, if your corner misses it,
that's not true. They don't all cheat.
I'm sorry, bad choice of words. Cheating in boxing has been going on for as long as boxing's been going on. And it's your corner's job to make sure that they watch his hands getting wrapped and watch him putting gloves on and inspect the gloves. And if he still got something in those gloves, then shame on him. But he did not fire Mark Breland solely for that. He fired Mark Breland because Mark Breland tried to save him because he saw he's getting hurt and he stopped the fight. And he said he should have never stopped the fight.
Okay, and that too.
That's what the call is there for.
It was that, and he missed the glove wrap. If you watch the fight again, when they were wrapping Tyson Fury's hands, did you see that his team go and turn the camera off so that we couldn't see how they were wrapping his hands?
No, I missed that part. In
the walk up before the fight started, they were wrapping Tyson Fury hands during the undercard. His team turned off the camera.
Tony, for the record, I think you're right. I think he cheated. I think his glove was loaded, and I think Breland did the right thing in stopping the fight.
I'm not disputing that part. I'm just saying these other things. And this third now and also let's just talk about too the fact that he's in mediation now because Tyson Fury does not want to fight Wilder a third time. He wants to get out of his contract to fight Wilder a third time. They're in mediation right now, and I'm going to tell you the result of what's going to happen. Tyson Fury is going to give up his WBC belt so that he can fight Anthony Joshua in 2021. That's what's going to happen.
And why are they going to do that?
Right.
Because that's the biggest money fight that they can make. That's the biggest money fight he can make.
Why
it's not him fighting Wilder 3.
We want to see a unified heavyweight champion. That's what we want to see. We want to see a real unified, not that fake unified we was talking about in pregame. We want to see a real unified heavyweight champion, and we can't get that because the Tyson Fury doesn't want to fight Wilder for a rubber match for a third fight.
It's no money, no real.
Oh, that's not true.
It's not big time. Come on now, Fury beat Wilder both fights.
Oh my God!
But we're not gonna go back. If it wasn't for the two knockdowns,
the first fight was a draw, and he did not beat him that fight. He knocked him down twice. And if you count that second knockdown, it was more than 10 seconds. Just like what happened to Tyson against Buster Douglas, he was down for more than 10 seconds.
Gotcha.
So if you
I disagree. I had that fight 9 rounds to 3.
I like Matt Kellerman. I don't like him as a commentator, but he does say one thing that's important. Who would you rather be in the first fight? Tyson Fury, who got knocked down twice, looked like he died the second time he got knocked down. Or would you rather be Wilder, that fight? That's who won the fight. Who would you rather be? Would you rather be Wilder or Tyson Fury that fight?
But it doesn't work that way. Each round is scored. And if you score each round, Fury beat both fights.
So it was scored a draw.
I hear you. Let's move on. What I personally feel is the fight of the year, and a lot of people think the same way, but you had to be a real diehard boxing fan to catch this fight. It was a junior welterweight fight against Jose Zepeda and Ivan Brančić. It happened in October 4th. It was a 5-round slugfest where there were a total of 8 knockdowns in 5 rounds. Each fighter got knocked down 4 times. So it's back and forth, and Zepeda finally survived, and he caught him with a vicious left hook in the 5th round and put him to sleep.
Yeah, I just saw the highlights before our time tonight, and amazing back and forth action. I would have to agree with you that you had to be a real boxing fan to even know that fight existed. But to me, that's not boxing. That's just two people slugging it out. I was watching it, just 2 people slugging it out, falling and getting back up. And it was a lot of action. It was great to watch, but that's not boxing. Boxing is the art of hitting and not getting hit.
Exactly.
Yeah, they missed that memo.
Hey, a whole lot of people pay big money to see the knockout.
and they're called casual fans.
Okay. So since we talk about the sweet science and what you like and what you enjoy, the best boxing exhibition in 2020 was put on by Teofimo Lopez, where he put on a boxing clinic to Vasily Lomachenko, who was supposedly the best pure boxer, quote unquote, of all time by some people, but definitely one of the top 10 of all time. Two-time champion, Olympic champion. He had already won title at 126, won 2 titles at 130, and now was the title of 135. Fighting this young 23-year-old guy from New York, who was supposedly a knockout artist, and Teofimo beat the brakes off of Lomo. I see you nod your head, Professor.
He sure did. I had to jump in real quick on that one. I mean, he put on a clinic in that joint. I thought we were going to see it the other way around, but the way he was sticking and moving and just busting him straight up upside his head, I think Loma just didn't know what to expect after that, because he was, I mean, I think he got in his head that he was going to dominate this fight. And I think it goes back to what Tyson said. Everybody got a plan till you got punched in the mouth. Man, he dominated him. And I gave him every single round of that fight. It was just total dominance. It was a show.
If we're still on the Teo fight, there was a lot of ring rust on Loma.
Oh, we making excuses? We making excuses?
Are you serious?
Are you making excuses?
The first 6 rounds, he didn't throw a punch.
Whose fault is that?
Scared.
Whose fault is that?
He was scared.
He was getting
Oh, he said ring rust. Come on, Queensberry
He
Tony.
hadn't fought in over 400 days.
Wait, man, partner, hold on. You trying to tell me that you step in the ring and you want the other fighter to have sympathy because you didn't prepare for the fight?
Wait, what is, are we? I'm speaking English. I didn't say anything about sympathy. I'm just stating facts. I'm stating facts. I'm saying to you, the man had a lot of ring rust. He's already an older man. He's you know what I mean?
Hey, you old man with ring rust.
He's an old man. He was 100 years old when he fought him.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
It's like
Wow.
Rocky Marciano.
It was 2 professionals stepped in that ring.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and one was supposed to have the biggest
Lopez.
footwork of all time, the quickest hands, fighting this young up-and-comer who just a year ago said, who is this Teo? I don't know who this Teo is. He's not on my level.
You know who he is now.
I bet you. I would love to see a 15-round fight version of that fight. I would have loved to see the 15-round version.
You
Wow.
Because he was Loma was coming back.
Lomachenko is not on Lopez's level. So when Lomachenko said Lopez is not on his level, he was speaking the truth.
Possibly.
And did you watch the 12th round?
Yeah.
When his father told him, all you got to do is go out there and stay away from him. We got this in the bag. Teo tried to knock his head off. Come on.
I've seen a lot of fights when people are really dominating. When they get to the last few rounds, just like the Canelo fight, they start to run away. They start to not want to fight. Loma that wasn't Loma. Loma was starting up, getting up in the fight. I would have loved to see that fight draw. I would love to see it again. I'd love to see him try to do it again. Because he certainly won't fight the real fighters at lightweight. So let him fight Loma again.
Okay, we're going to get to that in a second.
He wants to jump up to fight Josh Taylor. Do you know who Josh Taylor is, J3?
Wow.
That's who Theo wants to fight next. He
Wow.
won't fight Devin Haney. He won't fight the best fighters in that. He won't fight Tank, but he'll go up to fight Josh Taylor. Do you know who Josh Taylor is, Professor J?
Let me tell you this, Queensberry Tony. It takes a long time in boxing. It's a dirty, treacherous road to get to the big shot of the championship. And if you win it and get it, I ain't mad at you for taking some cream puffs to pop somebody. I ain't mad at you at all. You better hang on to that thing. That's a small business decision.
I think everybody wants to see the best fight the best, and nobody really wants to see, because you don't know who Josh Taylor is. Nobody wants to see.
Well, Josh
him fight.
Taylor is a bad boy at 140. Let's not
Yeah,
sound
but only you and I know who he is.
I hate.
That's not true.
You know who he is, Professor J?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Scott. He's a nice looking southpaw.
Yeah. Now the other big fight, and it wasn't for the fight itself, it was for the comeback. We talked about Earl Spence earlier. The Earl Spence comeback in December, after almost killing himself in a one-car accident, flipping over his Ferrari multiple times. After 14 months out of the ring, Spence came back, and I got to give Spence credit. That's the person who should have took a real light fight. After having multiple facial injuries, being out the ring, he should have took a soft fight. But he honored his word prior to the accident. At his previous fight, he said, my next fight will be Danny Garcia. Garcia came into the ring. They did all the pump. So he gave Garcia the match. And Garcia is a former welterweight champion. No easy touch. And Earl Spence, after about 3 rounds, you can see that he was a little rusty. He put that work in on Danny Garcia. And by the end of the fight, Garcia was just trying to survive. So that was good stuff for Earl Spence. Glad to see him back. But he got to step up and fight Crawford, because anybody else is just a joke.
Now, what you just explained, Big Reg, is what I would consider a legitimate argument for ring rust. He lasted a couple of rounds and he got himself together. Because if you remember, I think I was one of just a couple of us that was real nervous about him getting back in the ring for a big fight, right after the car accident. So I didn't think he was going to win. But like you say, when he got that rust off in the first few rounds, he really looked like more of his former self, and he did his thing.
I agree. I'm not going to do anything, but let's just be clear. I mean, let's just, there's levels, right? So Danny Garcia is a former champ, and no soft touch. He's an A fighter, but he's not. He's not the top guy. But it was kudos to Errol Spence for taking that fight after being in a car that flipped over 117 times, and after over 400 days off out of the ring to take that fight was a real tremendous move, and he beat him worse than anybody else has ever beat him.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
He didn't knock him out. We would have loved to see a knockout, but he did beat him. He put his hands on him, no doubt about it.
Yeah, there's definitely A-level fighters know how to survive a fight. They know how to, once they know they can't win, they know how to survive a fight so they don't look that bad. So that was a good one. And last, my other top thing, and it's kind of a combination of fights, PBC, I think, did a good job of introducing some stars for the true diehard fight fans who knew about them, but bringing these people out in front of the audience. You had Gervonta Tank Davis and the Charlo brothers, who both had major pay-per-views this past year. And what Tank Davis did to Leo Santa Cruz with that uppercut in the 6th round, that should be illegal in like all 50 states, because that was ridiculous.
That was a tremendous fight by Tank.
Yeah. And then the Charlo brothers trying something different, a split pay-per-view, because there was basketball on. So they had one fight like afternoon. They had like a 3-hour break. Then the other brother fought on a 3-car fight later this evening. Very interesting. 2020 made people do things they never probably would have thought of before. But if you haven't seen the Charlo brothers fight, hey, go to YouTube, check them out. As they say, lines only. They don't play. And unfortunately, nobody wants to fight them boys. And it's killing the upper weights of boxing.
It's killing the middleweight division. It's killing the junior middleweight division, super welterweight division. where some of these guys, and I'm gonna have to say it. I'm gonna put it on this station. There is a philosophy that's been going back ever since Jack Johnson. It's called NBF, and a lot of these Caucasian fighters have that philosophy. No black fighters. They don't want to fight the Charlo brothers. They're too talented. They're gonna make you look bad. They don't want to fight Demetrius Andrade in those divisions. They're gonna make you look bad, and they'll come up with every excuse in the book so they don't have to fight him. So that's too bad for them. And Demetrius Jamel Charlo was just did a YouTube. He's like, he's never been offered a contract to fight Canelo. Never.
Not only has he never been offered a contract to fight Canelo, neither has he been offered a contract to fight Triple G. So that brings us into that next segment. Which of the boxing divisions do you think are the best divisions currently in boxing? Put something out there. You got the heavyweights, where they say it's the three-headed monster, Fury, Joshua, Wilder. We just talked about super middleweight. You got Canelo Alvarez. David Benavidez, which a lot of people don't know about, who's a bad boy. If he can get his personal life together and stop getting stripped of titles, he might be one of the best fighters out there. You got Caleb Sweethand Plant. If you haven't watched Caleb Plant, and he fights in January, at 168 pounds, the man has hands like a welterweight. Master boxer. Billy Joe Saunders. You got middleweights. Canelo again. He's got the 168, and he still got a belt at 160. Triple G. Jamal Charlo, the older brother, by 15 minutes. You also got Andre, that you just talked about. We all know about the welterweights, Crawford, Spence. You even still got the old man out there with the belt, Mr. Manny Pacquiao. The junior welterweights, you disrespected my man Josh Taylor, but Josh Taylor is a show enough boxer, and him and Jose Ramirez are getting ready to put it together. And you still can't forget about the Louisiana boy, Regis Prograis, and then Jose Zepeda, who just came out of the fight of the year. So you got some big time fighters there.
Prograis fought earlier this year too. Yeah, he did a good job in that fight.
Reg, check your phone real quick.
And then you have lightweight. You got lightweight where you've got Teofimo Lopez, Vasily Lomachenko, Tank Davis, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. Junior lightweight, Barchalt, Diaz, Herring, Shakur Stevenson, and the local boy, my man Gary Russell Jr., Josh Warrington, Navarrete at featherweight. What weight class do y'all think is the best in boxing now, or weight classes?
I think most people are still enamored with the heavyweights, especially casual fans. Want to see what happens in the heavyweight division. I really do. If you want to talk about what we got to look at the money. Where do you think most of the money is going to go? In terms of if a big fight could be made at heavyweight between the three-headed monster, I think that's the biggest draw in boxing. Actually, the biggest draw in boxing was Tyson. Mike Tyson.
We talking about real boxing. We ain't talking about fake.
I mean, real talk, right?
They broke all records. I personally didn't watch it because I thought it was ridiculous. But you're right. I mean, let's talk about real boxing. But yeah, I think in terms of real boxing, I really think heavyweights is got to be, and then of course welterweights.
I was going to say the welterweights. With the fighters that you got right now, I think they're like the most known known fighters. If you ask anybody who's fighting and who's worth watching, welterweight's got it going on right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of great welterweights. We got as you didn't even mention this. There's a couple other people in there that make it some exciting fights can happen in the welterweight division in 2021. And then you want to say lightweight, but honestly, it's like a lightweight, junior lightweight kind of mishmash would be the third.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, if you don't bring Tank Davis in lightweight, then you might as well just say junior lightweight, because Tank Davis is the star in that lower weight class, the lower weight class.
Over Teo?
Oh yeah, he's the
I-
A side. He's the A side in the Teo fight. Definitely.
I disagree with you on that one, but
Okay, let's
We
look at the
disagree.
money. He made more in one fight than Teo made in his whole career.
Look at the next fight, Tony.
You know how much he made on that last fight with Loma? 1.5.
Look at the next fight, Tony.
The next fight.
Even Lopez's next fight is when he gets paid. He took a low pay to fight.
Nobody gonna want to. That's what I'm just trying to explain to you. He's not gonna make any money against Josh Taylor because only me, Professor J, and Reg heard him.
Can't argue with that.
He's not gonna make any money in that fight. If he wants to make money, he can
fight. I'm talking about the next big fight. He's going to get the lion's share of the split, whoever that is.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, 7 foot pole. He had to take the low money because he wanted that fight because he said he knew he could beat him and he was willing to take anything to make that fight happen.
I
But I
understand.
can guarantee you, he's got 3 of the 4 belts.
And Tank Davis has made more money in one fight than Teofimo Lopez has made in his whole career.
So far. All of them is so far.
Twice as much.
That's
How about
because Tank Davis' representation is smarter than most boxing. Come on, you're talking about Money Mayweather.
That's right. So if you want to say who the A side is, my argument is who made the most money, who's made the most money today, who's making the most money.
Those 3 belts and that victory over Lomachenko make
2 belts, 2.5 belts. If you, I'll give you.
We're not gonna argue over that. We're not gonna argue over that.
That French fries belt is not a belt.
But Tank got a problem at 130
What's that?
because possibly the best fighter in boxing, not named Crawford,
Stevenson?
is Shakur Stevenson.
But he's not fighting at 130.
Yes, he is. His last 2 fights have been at 130. He gave up his 126 pound
amazing.
belt.
He looked incredible against that guy, that kid. I mean, I was afraid for that guy. I mean, they were talking about. I was like, they were talking about his family. The guy had kids. I was like, he needs to go home to his family. I mean, you guys look up, and I couldn't find the fight. It was on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the fight unless you subscribe to ESPN Plus. The only way to get it is to watch it on YouTube. So I watched it on YouTube. Me and my dad watched it, and we were really impressed with Shakur Stevenson. Really a thinking man's. I mean, the guy thinks through. I mean, he just tore this guy apart. I mean, the guy could do nothing.
Who was he fighting, though?
Huh?
Who was he fighting?
Who did he fight? Exactly.
No. I'll have to look it up. He fought a top 10 contender.
He fought a contender. Yeah.
Felix Caballero.
There you go. He was a top 10 ranked fighter, but he made it look like he should.
fought Johnny Taylor.
You kill him. But after the fight, it looked like he shouldn't have been in the ring with him. It was ridiculous. So that's who's coming after everybody at 130. My favorite weight class right now, because I don't think we're ever going to get the Crawford Spence fight. I think 168 and the fights that can be made at 168 are tremendous. And the fights between 130 and 135, because most of those guys, I mean, quite honestly, Lomachenko should drop down to 130, and that's where he should fight. He's not a 135 pounder based on his frame and his size. You can make some monster fights between 130 and 135.
I put them there. I put it at number 3, but really they're close to the welterweight to me. I really want to see some stuff happen in between some of those. Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis are friends. I don't really think that that's going to happen anytime soon. I think as Shakur moves up, Tank is going to move up too. And we'll see Tank at 135 sooner than later. He's already had weight problems in the past. So,
Yeah, that's an understatement.
so right. I mean, he doesn't. He's not a disciplined gym rat like his mentor. Staying in shape all the time. So yeah, I really feel like as Stevenson stays at 130 and moves up through those rankings, Tank will move on. I don't know where Devin Haney comes into that mix. I would love to see something happen there, but like you said, he's self-promoted, and we don't know what his future holds.
Yeah, Devin Haney is going to find himself in a Terrence Crawford situation where he's going to be on the outside looking in on these promotions.
But you said it was because of his promotion. Devin Haney's been with Top Rank this whole time, and it hasn't really helped him as much as it should have.
He's making more money than what a fighter at his stage of his career would have ever thought to make. He's making millions of dollars being a self-promoter. So from a financial situation, it's working. But now that it's time for him to make his name to be one of those top fighters, possibly pound for pound, because Devin Haney is a beast. But is he going to be able to fight Lopez, a top-ranked fighter? Lomachenko, a top-ranked fighter? Tank Davis, a PBC fighter? Shoot, even Ryan Garcia.
Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis is probably going to happen in 2021.
Yeah, I don't believe Twitter beef, because if Twitter beef worked, then we'd have had Crawford Spence a year ago. So we'll see what that happens. So let me get you guys, who do you think is the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters currently?
Crawford, number 1.
You gotta say Earl Spence.
Try to fact it.
You said Earl Spence, 7 foot.
You gotta say Earl Spence. The man crashed a Ferrari and came back and beat Garcia. Come on, man. How good? What you gotta do to prove you're good?
So you think he's number 1? You think he's better than Crawford?
Yeah, I think they won in 1A. And I'm gonna tell you what, if that fight does happen, Bud Crawford is gonna lose. And the reason he's gonna lose is because Bud Crawford is the most skillful, but in the ring, his pride's gonna get the best of him. He's gonna try to punch with Errol Spence, and you do not want to punch with Errol Spence.
Really?
That's right.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
You heard it here first on Position on Sports Talk Show.
I hear you. I
don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
Who you got as your number 1, J3? Or number 1, 2, 3?
Well, I would definitely have to say that Bud Crawford would be number 1 because Earl Spence is okay. Don't get me wrong, and yeah, he did beat Garcia in the last fight, but I don't think he can jab or he can take a punch that Crawford is going to throw his way. I really don't think so. I mean, unless he's in the gym on a regular basis and trying to get back to form. But again, even in the last fight, I mean, he commanded that whole fight. So it wasn't like he was that rusty, even though he had been out for a while. So it's still the jury is out. As far as my number 2, I think the Charlo brothers are good candidates for the next slot. And then lastly, I definitely got to give Tank Davis some love because I think he is a good boxer. However, he needs to stay in the ring, and the antics that he does outside the ring need to stay out there.
True story. Professor J, you want to chime in on this?
Well, we know it's not Tyson Fury, so let's just put that out there. So, of course, I agree with Crawford. I like Spence, and I'm going to stretch a little bit. I mean, it might be future talk, but I'm going to say Shakir is my 3rd.
I ain't mad at that. All right, come on, Queensbury Tony.
Okay, well, the top 3 fighters I mentioned, number 1 is Bud Crawford. I really think he is the boogeyman. of boxing. He is the number one. Not only is he number one, he's the boogeyman. Nobody really wants to see him. Number 2 is Devin the Dream Haney, and number 3 is Shakur Stevenson.
Wow. So you like the young fellas. I see you. It's interesting. Nobody mentioned Canelo.
I really wanted to do it. I really did, but I can't, in good conscience, put him. Only because I see 7 foot putting twist on his face there. But only because the man wins fights. And
did you see what he did?
Yes.
A week ago.
Yes, I knew he would beat him, but not like that. He beat a man with a 7-inch reach advantage, a champion, an undefeated fighter. You gotta give him his props. Canelo is in the top 5 fighters out there right now. He's in the top 5.
I only got 2 things with that, Tony. One is, of course, I can't get the image of what Mayweather did to Canelo. I can't get that on my mind. I just think Mayweather did to Canelo. And,
now that's boxing, Reg. That's boxing. Boxing.
And the second thing is, if you put Canelo on the list, then you got to put Johnny Taylor above him.
Talking about Josh?
He just massive. Well, my top 3, Terrence Bud Crawford. I like your description. He's the boogeyman. He's the one everybody's trying to avoid, and they've been avoiding him for years. I got to give Canelo his props. What he did to a 2-belt champion and the tactics he used. Do y'all know he actually detached the man's left bicep?
Wow.
On purpose?
Oh, really? You think he targeted his arm?
He knew that one of his favorite moves was to catch and then throw the left hook. So he started targeting the left hook in the second round and just kept hitting him in the bicep and actually ruptured his bicep.
Wow.
Big Reg, look at me for a second, Big Reg.
Yes, sir.
Big Reg, look at me. Look right here. That's an urban legend. He didn't mean to do that, man. He didn't plan that
It's
out.
possible. It's very possible.
Don't put that out there, man. Don't put
He
that out
said,
there.
no, he said that in the post-fight interview.
You said that Canelo was ducking the Charlo brother. You said that, Big Reg.
Oh, he's ducking the Charlos. I give you that. He's definitely ducking the Charlos because he don't want to fight them young lions. But what he did at 168, the Charlos at 160. That's why he ain't fighting 160 anymore.
That's why I can't give him pound for pound, because Canelo has been doing these things from 154 to 160, 168, and at 175, he's been winning in 4 different weight classes. So I don't blame you, Big Red.
I hear you. And last is one of the little wonders of the world, Inoue. They call him the little monster. He fights at 118, but I've never seen a tiny guy that had knockout power like this dude has, and he from round 1 on, he's just a ball of fury. And if you're interested in seeing some little guys fight, he's one of the guys to look for. So it's getting late. It's almost time for us to get out of here. Let's talk real quick about what fights we want to see in 2021, fights that you think can get made, or just wishful fights that you want to get made.
The fight I think can get made is Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury when he gives up the WBC strap. That can, even though that it won't be for all of the belts, I still want to see Anthony Joshua knock this guy out. He looks so good against Usyk. He fought Usyk 2 weeks ago, and he knocked Usyk out in the 9th round. Anthony Joshua did a great job against Usyk. I think he can do very similar things against Tyson Fury in the year to come. That's the fight. That's the fight that can be made, and I would want to see that fight.
Well, I'm gonna start with. I want to see. Well, I'm gonna go where we started at the top of the show at. I want to see Wilder and Fury 3, because I want my man Wilder to get a clean shot, not no loaded gloves. It's a fair fight. I want to see.
That's the fight I want to see. I agree with that one. Good job. But I don't think it's. I think he's running from him. I don't think he wants to fight him again. He knows his tricks now.
J3.
Man, the fight I want to see, y'all should already know, and I want America to be witness. I want somebody to knock the hell out of this COVID. I'm tired of it. That's the fight I want to see.
I'm with you there, brother. I think the whole world is with you there. But what about in boxing?
It would be nice to see Bud Crawford and Errol Spence fight. Is it going to happen? We'll never know. But it would be nice to see. So that's what I would like to see.
Professor J.
The fight that I want more than anything is Terrence Crawford against Manny Pacquiao. That's the one I want to see more than anything, because I want somebody to just put this old man out of the sport for good and let him just stay in politics and run his country. That's the fight that I want to see. That's the one. I want to see a rematch the third time, like 7 foot of Wilder and Mr. Loaded Glove, so we can finally see in that trilogy who's the better boxer, check the gloves, all that good stuff, and let them go at it. No costume and all that stuff.
I think that you have a good shot of seeing Crawford Pacquiao, because supposedly there are some countries that are willing to pay a lot of money to have them come fight. So that may happen. There's a couple of fights that haven't been mentioned that I want to see. I want to see Jamal Charlo get a chance to fight Triple G at 160. That's the biggest name. And if Triple G won't do it, then Charlo and Andrade got to get together.
You don't want to see your boy Canelo fight Charlo?
He's not going to fight him. He's not going. He's going to stand at 168, and guess what? He's going to have a problem at 168. Because another fight I want to see, Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, and the winner of that fight Canelo to unify all the 168 belts.
That's possible.
That may happen. And I think Tank Davis, if he's going to stay at 135, I would love to see Tank Davis and Devin Haney get it on. I think they can make that fight.
In all seriousness, your boy Lopez is going to have a good 2021. Lopez is going to have a good year in 2021. Don't try.
As long as he can, again, stay out of the camera and stop putting his foot in his mouth. He said he was going to give Devin Haney a shot in 3 to 5 years, and then he said, "Oh, I'll fight Devin Haney for $10 million." He ain't never seen $10 million. $10 million. He made $1.5 million on his last fight. $10 million. So he did the same thing Spence did. The 10 million, saying outrageous numbers. So yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Teofimo is running.
He feeling himself. He feeling himself. He think he's the big show. We'll see if that comes to fruition. All right, fellas, it's been a great 2020 wrap up. I appreciate y'all chiming in. Let's give everybody one last final post to say whatever's on their mind, whether it's on boxing or anything else. J3, why don't you kick us off?
Real quick, I just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone and Happy New Year.
Appreciate that. 7 Foot Poet, what's your final thoughts?
Well, just tell everybody, go out there and you pick up that bottle of COVID Organics, man. COVID Organics.
Oh, leave it to you. Queensberry Tony, what you got for me?
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I try to really analyze what's happening right now. But guys, just stay safe. Keep your loved ones safe. Don't believe the hype. Just protect yourselves and protect your family into 2021. And happy holidays.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, I can't say it any better than the fellas here. Just want everyone to stay safe. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and certainly kudos for this special that you cooked up, Big Reg. I think this is something special that we got to keep going, and then we can also do the same for, should I say, UFC. God bless y'all.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put that together too. I just like to say, and I'm gonna keep it on boxing. I wish for 2021 that boxing continues the push to try to make some of the fights that people really want to see. They've been fighting against that three-letter word UFC for the past few years and been losing that battle. But I think 2020 showed them that they can actually put together quality matches, work together, and I think we're going to see some real good fights in 2021. And I also hope that COVID gets to a point where we can actually have 15, 20, or in the case of the Fury fight, maybe Fury Joshua, 90,000 fans in the seat to see a fight like that. I'm hoping that we get there in 2021. It's going to be tough, but everybody, just keep your thoughts up, stay safe, and do what you have to do. We'd like to thank you all for tuning in and listening to this special edition of Position on Sports Talk Show, our post-2020 Boxing Year in Review. As Professor Jay said, this was a real joy to do, and I guarantee you we'll be back to 2021. We might have to start doing a boxing segment maybe every 3 to 6 months and do a special UFC segment every 3 to 6 months so we can do our thing. So we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Please tune in tomorrow night. It's our last post-fantasy show, 7 p.m. Check us out. We really appreciate it. We're coming to you 3 days this week. And then we'll be back next Tuesday for the Standard Positional Sports Talk Show every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Thank you very much. If you have any comments, please send us on our social media, Positions on Sports, YouTube, Facebook. You can hit us up. And for you podcast listeners, check out your local podcast, however you get your podcast. This will be up as all of our future shows. We're now in the podcast game, Positions on Sports.
Real quick, Greg, on blackagendareport.com, there's a great article on boxing, U.S. race, and class pathology. Check it out on blackagenda.com. Boxing, it's a great good piece. Check it out.
Appreciate that. I'll have to definitely do that. All right, fellas, we're going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all. Thank you all the listeners. Peace.
See you.